All right. So today we are going to now look at number functions. That is what we want to do today. You remember this diagram? What we have done so far now, we've done the character, we've looked at the character functions. Are you with me?
Yes.
We've looked at the character functions. So today we are going to look at the number function. And hopefully we should be able to do number function and the date function today. And next lecture we'll do general and conversion. Now we are looking at number functions. So I'm just going to give you, using just two examples of the number functions, which is round, trunc, and mode. Rounds values to specified decimal. Trunc truncate value to a specified decimal. Mode returns remainder of division. That is what it does. Now, when you look at this diagram here, you can see round is a function. When you call the function round and you supply parameters to, argument to it, the answer will be this. When you call this function trunc and you supply this argument to it, the answer will be this. Mode will return the remainder of the two arguments that you supply. So if you look at this argument now, you have 1,600, and then you have 300. So mode will simply return the remainder. That is 1,600 divided by 300. The remainder will be 100. So that is what is returning. Now, look at this write-up that I put here. A decimal point is the boundary between multiplication and division. To the left of the decimal point is 10 times bigger, while to the right is 10 times smaller. Its real meaning is based on 10. It is the most important part of the decimal number. Without it, we will be lost and not know what each position meant. Why I showed you that is for you to understand, because I want to explain to you how the system does this rounding. How did it round 45? What does this 2 mean? What in this trunk, what does this 2 mean? And then we'll add more and we'll be able to understand what it is actually doing. So practically, I want to show you how those rounding came about. Now, we are calling a function. We are looking at number functions. And the functions, we are just going to use two out of them. I showed you here. When you click on this snippet and then you click this, you look at numeric functions. Look at them. So I'm going to just explain this round and this trunk and then mode. There are other ones there. If you have to look at all of them, the time will not be enough for us. Are you with me? So let's look at the round. Where do we use it? Round. I'm calling the function round. That is the function name. I'm going to supply with two parameters. So I supply 45.923. Then comma, and I put 2 here. And I close this. You remember what I told you in my last lecture, where I was talking about the dual table, a dummy table called dual. So we are going to use more of that dummy table to do the calculation today. So here I will say select round. Select, then I will call round, and I will supply this parameter to it. And then I will call that from dual. I will end this. I'm going to run this. When I execute it, you see, look at the answer it's giving me. 45.92. Now, how did they arrive at this? This statement is what will guide us. A decimal point is the boundary between multiplication and division. To the left of the decimal point is 10 times bigger, while to the right is 10 times smaller. Its real meaning is based on 10. It is the most important part of a decimal number. Without it, we will be lost and not know what each position meant. Using that statement that I just read for you to look at this. It means that the rounding is based on 10. So you're looking at base 10. So 45.923 is the argument we are supplying. And we are telling round to round it to 2 decimal places. So by putting 2 here, it means we are rounding to the right of the decimal. Are you with me?
Yes.
We are rounding to the right of the decimal. So to the right of the decimal, these 2 represent 10 raised to the power 2. After the decimal, we have 9 and 2. The third number there is not up to 5. That 3 is not up to 5, so we cannot round it to 2. That is why he gave us 0.92. Are you with me? If I change this 1 to 1 and I round it, I run it. See, 45.9, because the 2 is still not up to 5, so it cannot round it. If I change this 1 to -1, this simply tells you that it is 10 raised power -1, which will now be 1 over 10 raised power 1. So 10 raised power 1 is 10. Now, this -1 tells you that we are rounding the left-hand side of the decimal point. Because if you don't understand this and you're writing a program, this can create error in your program, that it will be giving wrong value. So this -1 is telling you that we are rounding the left-hand side of the decimal point. Now, that would be 1 over 10 raised power 1. So 10 raised power 1 is 10. So we are looking at the 10th position. So we have unit 10. Unit is 5. 10, the number in position 10 is 4. Now, the number to the right of that 4 is 5. Are you with me? Now, when I run this, look at what it's giving me, 50. Now, how did it get 50? That is the explanation I'm giving you. You are rounding this to the power, looking at the multiple of 10. Now, when you do this -1 here, you are putting it into the power of 10. So that would be 10 raised power -1, which will give you 1 over 10 raised power 1. And that will be 1 over 10. So 10. You are now going to look at 100 tens and units. You know how they do 100 tens and units, the placement. So when you look at this, when you put 100 tens and units, 5 is under unit, 4 is under tenth. So 10 raised power 1 tells you that is at position 10. The number at position 10 is 4. Now, the number to the right of that number is 5. So you are going to round it. So you move 1. You are going to move 1 from this 5, which is the rounding, to the 4. It will now become 5. And what is on this right-hand side of it will be 0. That is how you got 50. Are you with me?
If it was -2.
Good. If it is -2, I put -2 here. This will now be 10 raised power -2, which is 1 over 10 raised power 2, which is what? 100, as in 1 over 100. So leave the 1. That minus simply tells you that we are rounding the left-hand side of the decimal point. So if you are rounding the left-hand side of the decimal point, so 10 raised power 2 is 100. So we have 100 tens, unit tens 100, right? That's how we move. Unit tens 100. 1,000. That's how we usually write it in mathematics. So the first number under unit is 5, right? The second number under 10 is 4. Now, this 10 raised power 2 tells you that it is 100. Now, is there number at 100? There is no number at 100, meaning number at 100 is 0. Are you with me? This one will mean it will be like this: 0, 4, 5. That is what it will be. It means that the number we are going to round is the number under the 100, because 10 raised power 2 is 100. So we are rounding the number under 100. And the number under 100 is 0. Looking at this, the 5 is unit, the 4 is 10, the 0 is 100. And the next number to 0, which is at the right hand side of 0, is 4. It's not up to 5, so you cannot round it to 0. So the answer of this will be what? 0. If I run it, it will give us 0 as the answer. Now let's run it. Remove this. Let's execute this script. Run it. Can you see the answer? Now look at this. If I put here to be 55, 55, what do you think will be the answer when I run it? Watch. 100. How did it get 100? I'm going to explain to you. You have, this tells you that you are rounding the left hand side to the decimal. And 10 raised power 2 is 100. So we are rounding the 100 position. This one will now be 055. So the number under position 100, because 5 is unit. The second 5 is 10. Then this 0 is 100. So the number under position 100 is 0. Now, the number to the left of that 0 is 5. So it is up to the average that the law has given to you, that once it is from 5 upward, you will round it as 1. So you are going to round this 5 to this 0 as 1. Then the remaining 2 digits will become 0, 0. That is how you got the 100. So this is how this decimal mathematics is usually done. So the computer, that is how they were able to write the program into the computer for the computer to know what to do, that is doing this rounding. So that is round. We are calling a function round, and we are supplying that. Now, let's call the trunk function and see what the trunk function will do. So I'm going to say select trunk, another function called trunk. You see, it's giving me the argument. So trunk is going to expect n1 and n2, 2 arguments. Now I'm going to supply the same thing to it. Before I supply, let me put the 45.923, and then I'll close it, and from dwell. Are you with me? If I put that as 0, it will just trunk it. So let's still put that 2 or 1 how we started. This one, let me run this first, then I will write everything in one line. So this one now, trunk is chopping out something. It's not like round. Round is going to take from the right hand side and round it to the left hand side. But trunk is going to chop it off. Right? It's going to chop it off. Now I am telling trunk to trunk this. Trunking for 45.923 into one decimal place because of the 1, meaning I'm trunking the what? The right hand side of the decimal. So when I run this, what will it give me? 45.9. Can you see that? To one decimal place. So it will just chop off the other ones, which is the same thing that round will give us, but you will see where the difference will be. If I put this one as 1, 2, and I run it, it's giving me the same answer with this one. I run this, same answer. Okay. Now this one, I change it to 2. I change this one to -1. I change this one to -1. When I run this one, it's giving me 50. When I run this one, it's giving me 40. So I'm going to put them in the same line. So put this here. I'm going to take this function, and I'm going to copy it and put it here so that I will have both of them on the same line. Now run. Oh, sorry. I didn't close the bracket here. So I'm going to run it again. Now look at what the round function did. Round function rounded this to 50. Trunk function trunked this to 40. How come? This one is -1 tells us that we are rounding the left-hand side of the decimal. Trunk -1 also tells us that we are trunking the left-hand side of the decimal, right? So we are rounding 45 and we are trunking 45. That is what it means. Now, how did the round do its own? I explained to you. -1 tells you it is 10 raised power 1, which means we are going to round the number that is under 10th. Number under 10th is 4. But 5, the next number next to it is 5. So we converted it to this side to make it 50. So this one, the 4 became 5, and the 5 became 0. That is how you got the 50. So you rounded this to the closest multiple of 10 to this 45, which is 50. What did Trong do? Trong is also looking at the multiple of 10, but Trong is going to trunk the left hand side of the decimal. That is what the minus is telling us, and it's trunking it 1. So the unit 10 raised power 1 is 10. The number under it is 4, right? The number under that 10th is 4. So it's just going to chop off this 5 to 0. It's not going to round it. It is round that will convert something from 5 into 4. But trunk is going to chop it off. So it's going to chop this 45 to the multiple of 10. And the next multiple of 10 to this 45 is 40. So he trunk it and he chop it off to 40. That is what he did. So that is number function. Then you look at the mode. I'm going to just say select mode. So you are calling a function. You see, at the moment I type it, it's expecting 2 arguments, n2, n1. It didn't say n1, n2, n2, n1, meaning you are using n2, you are dividing n2 by n1. That's why it's positioning them that way. So I am going to open my parentheses. Then in that, what we saw then was 600, 1600 by 300, right? So 1600, then comma by 300, and we'll close the parentheses. So select this from dual, and then I close. When I run it, it's going to give me 100. See, 100. Meaning it's dividing 1600 by 300. 0 cancels, 2 zeros cancel 2 zeros, remaining 16. So 16 over 3. 3 will go into 16. 5 times, remainder 1. So that is how we got the 100. It's returning returning the remainder. Let's use this trunk in our own normal query. In our query. So I can say select star from select star select first name, first underscore name, salary. I will call the mode function mode, and then I will supply salary column to it. So I am saying for every salary column, for every row in the salary column that you return, divide the salary by 200 and tell me the remainder. Select first name, salary, mode. So I'm calling mode function and supplying 2 parameters to it. So one of the parameters is my salary column from employees, right? So I'm going to run this first. So I'm now going to run it. Now see, look at this 24,000 divided by 200. So I'm scrolling down. See, this one is 100. You divide 7,600, 7,700 by 200. It's giving you a remainder of 100. Look at all of them. Look at the ones that are having remainders. They are returning. So that is basically it. So that is how you use the number functions.